Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. Rob Bear here, and today we're going to take a look at the new White Dwarf. This is issue 80, and once again, the Age of Sigmar rolls on, but there is a little treat in here for you 40k players. There's a nice little feature on some Tyranids from one of the back issues of the Warhammer Visions magazine. So obviously, this is a big issue for the first multi-part kit coming out for Khorne, and spoiler alert, it looks like next week is going to be one as well, probably the more armored warriors of Khorne for the Age of Sigmar. Now these guys are the Bloodreavers. Obviously I feel like these are the most better sculpted mortal warriors of chaos that we've seen come out of the Games Workshop studio in a very long time. They are on the 32mm basis, and they're good looking models. I mean, these things, they're just very well done. They're way better than the stuff from Fantasy. They got amazing looking weapons, all sorts of crazy standards. I mean, when we take a look at the next page here, you know, you can see some of the better details of them, like, you know, like the flensed flesh, you know, scarification. You've got crazy helmets. Apparently there's 36 helmets in this kit. So, I mean, this kit looks pretty dope, I'll be honest. And you can use it for all sorts of different things. You can use it for Chaos Cultists in 40k. You can use it for stuff if you're still playing 8th edition Fantasy. If you want to switch over to Kings of War and do some stuff there, you could use it for a lot of those models as well. Very well, highly detailed, probably some of the best mortal chaos sculpts we've seen in a very long time. And then, of course, the other big release for this week is going to be the quest for the Galmaraz, where Sigmar is going to get his hammer back, hopefully. So it looks to be another campaign book, $75 book, 240 page, kind of 264-ish kind of page deal, where you get a bunch of campaign. It looks like, it's kind of hard to say. It looks very similar to the first Age of Sigmar book when you start looking at this, but look, it's got that Warscrolls in it too. So it seems like there's going to be some stuff in here, maybe some new stuff, probably mostly collected in print, older stuff. That, remember, the last book there was only like one battalion that hadn't been seen before, so obviously not worth spending $75 to get one rule page. But you know, you can find the stuff, you could borrow it from a buddy or something like that. You know, if you want the rules, they're out there. You don't have to worry about that. But what's really cool about it is it goes through the beginning of the Realm Gate Wars, kind of explaining everything that happened, you know, about the world that used to be obviously Fantasy, the old world, and then now it looks like to be expanding on what's going on in the Realm Gate Wars currently, kind of where they left off. Fighting Tzeentch before they discovered the Galmaraz, obviously Sigmar's fabled hammer. So really cool stuff there. It looks to be a very exciting book because we're kind of building through this kind of plot line. Now, is there going to be a book 3? Is there going to be a book 4? Is there going to be a book 5? Is this going to be the end times thing? I don't know. It's hard to say anymore with what, kind of they got going on. We don't really know what they're doing. Some people out there don't know what Games Workshop's doing personally. It's kind of just one of those things, like we're just kind of all along for the ride just to see what happens. I mean, it's cool that it seems like some of the stores that are supporting the Age of Sigmar release and, running proactive demos, kind of having fun with it, seem to be experiencing higher sales of the products as well as other fantasy models as well. And stores that aren't, maybe switching over to the Kings of War, maybe some disenfranchised 8th edition players out there and things like that. It just kind of depends. But there's a game out there for everybody, obviously. Don't just quit the hobby or anything like that. And here's a look at the limited edition Quest for Galmaraz book as well. So those are the big new releases. And then it gets into kind of the Chosen Sigmar, kind of talking about what's going on with the Stormcast Eternals, the Codex Apocrypha, which generally was about 40k, but whatever. Usually Phil Kelly writes these. Very interesting article. Now we get into the paint splatter, which another great paint splatter. I mean, if anything, the White Dwarfs are just worth buying it for that, because you get some really good looking paint tips in here. Now they kind of go into explaining how it works. Now they show you a picture, they show you the technique in print, but the technique in paint rather. So you're doing a wash of Reichsland flesh shade, and then they go into the brush, which is right here. Now remember, there's like 11 different brushes, 16 different brushes, I forget. I reviewed them, they're over on the channel, check them out. They seem to be very high quality. I have not used them. I did review them. I kind of like them. Just looking at them as much as you could, just being a dedicated hobbyist of 20 plus years, just, hey, how would I expect this product? Just taking a look at it, feeling it, just kind of getting the feel for the product. How did I think it would function in that? I think it'll function fine. I think it's a great line. Some of the stuff's a little pricey, but obviously, you know, use common sense. Don't buy things that you don't need or are out of your price range, obviously, there. So it's really cool that they explain all of that there, you know, all the different brush sizes and things like that, and different particular brands, and then it gets into the actual techniques and things. So a lot of different stuff here, a lot of different fleshes going on. Then you got some trousers, some like dark kind of colored stuff here. You got some leather straps and things. So, you know, we see medals. The skulls are kind of interesting take on that. It's a 5-step process here. Not exactly sure it's, you know, the best way to go. That's a lot of work, but hey, it looks good. And red armor too, kind of highlighting up to this orange right here, which is really neat. I kind of liked it from in the preview back here of this one helmet. It's kind of like, I guess Sauron kind of like a hot magma kind of helmet looking thing right there, and that's pretty neat. And it looks like that's very close to what they were going for in this particular paint splatter article right here. Very similar right there, but it does have some, you know, some metals and things on it. So, you know, I feel like it's a really good paint splatter article. Obviously, you can pick up the Sigmar painting guide if you want all of the stuff there. And then next week's teaser is blood red armor, so obviously we're going to see more of the Khorne stuff solid, you know, as far as armor plating and things like that, not necessarily the mortal stuff. So here's a really cool looking army, and like I said, this is a feature from issue 19 of Warhammer Visions. And what I like about this army is the use of the color here, and I talked about this I think in the last video I did. Like, color theory is big in 40k, I feel like, right? So, or the hobby in general, because you see how there's contrast here. Like, there's darkness, right? And then you kind of see the blues come in, and the lining of the blues break up the contrast, right? But also this dark in general breaks up the bright red. And in order to break up all that, you've got the spot coloring of this yellows in here. So there's a lot of different elements at play, and then you've got kind of like a super highlight of this purple, and all of it plays off each other very well. They're using this scar type red, which is there's different degrees of red. There's like a purple red, there's a brown red. This obviously is more of a purple red because it works with these purples here. But being that it is a purple red, it inherently has blue in it, so this blue gray here works as well. And then of course the yellows also work into that color wheel. Bone is a neutral, so it works just great because that's just a spot neutral kind of highlight. Pink has red in it, basically, you know, it's red and white. So all of this really works together here. Now, I don't like all the Termagant carapaces right here. I just think that's a little over the top. I think that should be more of a spot color. I think it should have gone more with the contrast, personally, but that's just personal preference. It still looks great. You know, obviously on the tabletop it would be spectacular. So like I said, it's a really cool feature. He kind of goes into all about what's going on with his army, some of the stuff he's painted, the oldest models and things like that. So it's really interesting to see that they're trying to splash 40k into the White Dwarf, but not quite making it kind of like a super feature of it, but it's still enough that, you know, it's worth it, that you kind of have to notice. And then of course Armies on Parade 2015 coming up, I think in October at most Games Workshop stores. If you want to post up pictures of your particular army, if you're not going to make it to the Games Workshop Armies on Parade, or hey, you just want to do something different and show off your army, you're not going to head out, or you are heading out, or you see an army on display that you'd like to share, you know, head on over to the Spiky Bits forum, because that's a great spot to post them up. We're also doing a contest as well for people posting their original armies up on there. We'll be giving away a particular prize around Halloween time. So now we get to the Warscrolls. So boom, there it is, the Bloodreavers. We have seen these in the past, but it's always cool to still get the multi-part kits coming out as well. So that's pretty much it for this White Dwarf. Then you get to the back, and obviously the teaser looks to be kind of what we were saying there. We're gonna have the Khorne armored armies, and then you've got basically how to paint, and then you got the Khorne stuff coming out, and something in, I guess, about Nurgle. Now last week it said the Tendril the Devourer descends, which was basically an allusion to, I guess, that Tyranid feature in here, because Tyranids are quote unquote the Devourer. So I'm not exactly sure. Maybe they're gonna put some 40k Khorne stuff in here. I don't know exactly what's going on with this teaser, but you know, it gives you a reason. Hey, check out the White Dwarf next week. Obviously, some really good looking Nurgle models right there. Very cool stuff all around the Blight Kings, and It's just great looking stuff, you know. And again, you can kind of see kind of what I was talking about here with the contrasts, spot colors. You know, you got this contrast of this dark green, and then you get into the lights, you know, and then you've got your spot colors, which is kind of like these fleshy patches here, and the bone obviously a neutral. So great looking stuff here. It works very well together. Obviously, color theory, it's big, it's part of the hobby. Make sure to check it out. If you have a hard time with it, I personally have a hard time with it. You know, you can check out a color wheel online. You know, you can be like, all right, I want to use yellows. What's complementary to yellows? You know, you got browns, you got oranges, then you've got, you know, the contrasting things to it, obviously, that you can go to as well. So just keep all that in mind as your hobby, and it's a great tool to add to your hobby arsenal for, you know, basically painting all this crazy stuff out there, because at the end of the day, you know, it's all about what you know and what you can retain and what you can execute. And make sure, you know, you try to work out those hobby muscles 30 minutes to, you know, an hour a day, even if it's just putting something together, even if it's thinking about doing your army, something like that. It's all still great stuff. Staying involved, staying a part of the hobby, and working out those hobby muscles is always good. So that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for hanging in there as I kind of, you know, went on little tangents with the color theory. And it's definitely something near and dear to my heart, and I think as you start seeing it and recognizing it, you will be like, holy crap, that is really cool stuff. I love to do that. You know, part of painting for me is just the color selection in general. So that is it for this one, guys. Make sure you stay in the trenches. Head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content and early access videos and special discounts from major manufacturers and retailers out there. Become a veteran of the Long War today.